I thought since the new update just came out that we'd revisit the full story of Evolve and actually tell you about some new Easter eggs that have come apparent that add on to the story now. I actually did a video very similar to this quite a while back, which was very popular, so if you want to watch that first, I'll leave a link in the description and you can feel free to. But for now, I'd like to tell you the full story and Easter eggs of Evolve up to now. So whether you're a new or an old player, if you didn't know, the dev team like to put out little Easter eggs, which some of them are just for fun, and others are actually giving you hints towards future aspects in the game. First of all, I'll just start off with these simple kind of fun ones that they've actually implemented into the game, which don't really add to the story, although they may do in the future. Now, I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but there is a common relationship between a little cupcake and Evolve. And I guess this is where the idea for Easter eggs actually developed, but back when they were developing Goliath, they of course wanted to test him without having to create some really detailed wildlife, so for food, they actually created massive cupcakes for Goliath to feed on so he could actually stage up. Now, I don't know the full details of why they picked a cupcake specifically. I think they also did like pork chops and stuff as well. At least that's what I've heard. But because of this led to them deciding to put a little few cupcakes in the game that you can actually go and look at right now. I myself only know where two cupcakes are. There is one in the dropship, and if you play as support, if you look to your right just as you drop out the ship, you can see one. And secondly, if you actually play as the support Sunny, on her mini nuke grenade launcher, if you actually look on the weapon, you can see a little cupcake keyring. You will also notice she has a little skull sticker, which I'll talk about in a second, but if anyone else knows where any cupcakes are in the game, do feel free to share it in the comments. But moving on, the skull sticker that's on Sunny's weapon is the same one that's in the dropship, which is a picture of a skull, and it says in Russian, "Never forget," with the year 2320. Now, do forgive me if I'm not 100% correct, but this poster is to represent a certain war that went on in the year 2320. And I'm not sure the exact war, but I'm sure you guys can leave it in the comments, but it happened in this certain universe, and it's actually tattooed as well on the back of Markov, because of course he is Russian and this would relate. Now, the reason they've done this, of course, is actually just to add on to the story and give you a bit more of a background about why the hunters are there and how it all started. But before I get onto that further, I just wanted to talk about one other little funny Easter egg that's in the game currently, which stands in front of the assault. I'm sure all of you have seen this before, but basically it's the A-OK gesture with the little quote, "Seen that." Now, this basically comes from a game called the Circle Game. I do believe it has other names as well, but basically, if you do that symbol below the waist and you get someone to look at it, that person gets to punch the other person in the balls. Yeah, really fun game. But either way, I think it's a little joke and obviously a game that the developers played with each other, and so they decided it would be funny if they actually put it in the game so that every single time they play, they actually look down at it. You can actually find the symbol in other places on the maps as well, but they went as far as well to put it in their Hunter concept art. This is Squire, obviously one of their early Hunter concept art, and you can see that they put the same gesture in, so quite clearly people had quite a lot of fun at Turtle Rock, and I remember playing this game back when I was in school. But it makes you wonder whether they'll actually add a Hunter that has that kind of banter and they add this into the game, or it might be just a little joke between the developers which they actually will never add to the game. However, it's just an interesting thought. Now, where the main Easter eggs are actually hidden within the dropship conversations, and everyone knows this. Whenever you drop in as the hunters always have different conversations. Some of them are quite funny, some of them are quite pointless, but some of them actually do hint towards new monsters and new hunters. Each character of course have their own little backstories, and if you play enough of Evolve you will learn a lot of them through dropship conversations. But if you've played the game enough, you will already be aware of a lot of the dropship conversations that do hint towards the 5th tier, and of course Gorgon, which we have recently had released. To actually keep things simple up to what we know now, we know people that have colonised on Sheer in order to take advantage of its resources, but since then have been taken over by monsters that have suddenly turned up, and Cabot's team as Planet Tamers have been called in to take care of the situation. Now, the beauty of the story is there's so many unanswered questions, which leaves people like us to theorize theorize about where the story is going and a little bit about the background of it, for instance, where the monsters actually came from. Going back to Hunter conversations, again, they always theorize about where the monsters could be coming from, which might be giving us hints, but then again, isn't completely clear. More recently, a new Easter egg has actually been revealed by someone on the forums, and I decided that I'd put it in this video to share it with you all. Now, I've actually talked about this Easter egg before, but some new information about it has come. If you go to extras and then credits when you're on your game, of course, you have to wait until the end of the credits, which is a bit annoying, but when you get to the end of the credits, you are left with a Morse code message. Now, I'm not actually going to say exactly what the message means because I've mentioned it many times in my videos before. Basically, the message talks about a monster spawning spontaneously generated hostile entities, and that is exactly what Gorgon is. So that message actually is hinting towards the 5th monster. But more recently, it has actually revealed something else. When the message was decoded, we discovered that at the start and end of the message, it said EMET link. Now, recently, it has been recoded by this person on the forums, and we've actually discovered it's actually CMET link and not EMET link. After searching it on the internet, it was actually found to be a website. I'll leave a link in the description if you actually want to go look at this website, but basically it's a fake Easter egg website that was made by the developers of Turtle Rock, which gives us a little bit more of the story of Evolve. Basically, what CMET is an organization that helps with communications amongst the universe, colonization, in other words moving humans to new worlds, and lastly mining on certain worlds to get materials. The way we actually know that this is related to Evolve is they talk about their mission to share, and of course offering their services such as mining, which would probably relate to Broken Hill Mine, and obviously reveals that CMET is actually the organization behind it all. Now, this is where things get interesting. If you actually go to the comments on the blog, there is a person called Kala who states, "Me and my telekinetic glove are ready." Now, the theory is, although it seems almost too obvious, is actually Kala is the new support. To back this up further, this comment was put literally minutes after the website was finally discovered. Then to add on to that even further, Black Aegis, who's a caster for Evolve, revealed a little teaser on his stream. The message, "Kala, the situation is critical. Bring EMET," was actually given. So this basically fully backs up the fact that Kala and EMET are the last two in Tier 5. Now, the comment Kala put talks about her telekinetic glove, and of course you can clearly see here that the support definitely has an emphasis on her arm, which means that there's obviously some sort of glove here, and in other words, the telekinetic glove, which is going to be one of the new support's utilities. Now, the word telekinetic is normally used to describe someone who can move objects with their mind. So it's believed that this new support, which we believe to be called Kala, can move objects with her glove. But then you have to think about how the support can benefit from this in-game. So perhaps Kala has the ability to block monsters' abilities, or even worse, actually have the ability to in some way move the monster. But this could also include moving hunters in some way, or even moving wildlife. Lastly, in the message Black Aegis gave, it said to bring EMET, which gives me the reason to believe that this new Tier 5 medic is in fact EMET. The name EMET probably suggests this is some sort of droid, because I can't imagine many people are called EMET, and also I believe EMET probably stands for something as well. Now, I actually did make a video where there was an audio tease between what we believe is the Tier 5 medic and the Tier 5 support. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go and watch that video, but basically it's between a male and a female voice. Now, the female voice is believed to be Kala, or this new support, and the male voice, I would assume, would be the Tier 5 medic. Now, in the audio recording, Kala talks about wanting to go to Sheer, and the male voice seems unsure about this. Now, you would think if the male voice was a droid, it wouldn't really have a say in the matter and would do whatever its master demands. One theory that's been floating around is that EMET is actually a droid that's controlled by a person from a far distance, or failing that, a droid that acts very realistically human. Those, in my opinion, are probably the main Easter eggs that have been quite recent, and it's quite interesting to think who CMET is and whether that will actually lead on to becoming something even more later on in this big story of the game. Again though, there are still so many unanswered questions where the monsters came from. Another one, which is quite big actually, Torvald, coming from the Ajax crew, said that he always wanted revenge on the monster that destroyed him, but there's actually been no evidence to show that Gorgon has been that monster, so it's completely possible that perhaps Torvald fought a different monster, which might actually lead on to a Tier 6 in the near future. Anyway, those are all the sort of main Easter eggs within the game at the moment. Of course, there's many different little things through dropship conversations, but if you have any big Easter eggs that you'd like to share in the comments, do feel free. And before I go, one thing I just found out quite recently, Crow, of course everyone knows who Crow is, and then everyone knows who Gobi is. Basically, it turns out that Gobi, the name Gobi, came from the pet bearded dragon from TRS.
About it. Everyone always asks us, why didn't you have a turtle? It's like, well, would you rather have a turtle or a dragon? Here, buddy. Oh, yeah. This is Gobi. He's just sort of our pet.
So I guess that kind of goes to show that a lot of the stuff that they do in the studio really does influence what goes into the game. So otherwise than that, I keep an eye on that CMET website, guys, because you never know, they might add some more little Easter egg type things that add on to the story. But I also hope the devs continue to make these little Easter eggs, because it's a lot of fun to make videos about and a lot of fun to find them in game. But I guess that brings the video to a close, so I hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, share any ideas or thoughts you have about Easter eggs, and I'll see you guys in the next video.